Hello, everyone. My name's Matt Crowley, and I am your professor for the spring 2022 edition of IT 2720 Ethical Hacking and Systems Defense. Long title, but fun course. Wanted to do a quick introduction video to tell you about myself, walk through the Blackboard site, look at the syllabus, and walk through each of the weeks of this semester so you have a good idea of what we're going to be doing, the cadence of assignments, so you can keep on track. Now, this is an online asynchronous course, so you're ultimately responsible for managing your time, turning in assignments, making sure you're meeting all the requirements over the next, I'll say 17 weeks because we have a spring break in there. So, which is a great aspect about the spring here. We get a nice little week off and break after midterms. So you will, when you go to our Blackboard site, and I have the student preview mode turned on, I'll go to announcements. You're going to see announcements first. Now, there's none in there right now. The first announcement comes on the 18th when the course opens, and I give you a little bit of introduction of what the first week looks like, what the initial cadence looks like, but we're going to talk about it in the video. So if you're watching the video before you see the announcement, just note I'm covering everything here. So the most important aspect of getting started with the course is the Start Here section. This has a little introduction about the course syllabus, which is our contract. If you're going to be in the course, you're agreeing by staying in the course to heed the syllabus and follow the syllabus and the textbook. In this course, we're going to be using hands-on ethical hacking and network defense in Cengage. Also, I've created video lectures for every week that goes through each of the topics that you're going to be reading about in Cengage and working through the labs on. And then we're going to end this course with a final project. So we're going to take the learnings that you had through the labs and the quizzes and the midterm. We're going to put it all together into a final project over the last 2 weeks. So let's walk through the syllabus real quick, well, as quick as we can go. So again, my name is Matt Crowley. A little bit about me. I've been teaching at Tri-C since 2017. That was my first college teaching job. So I'm an adjunct at Tri-C. I'm also the associate professor for cybersecurity at Notre Dame College, and I head up that department over there. So my background is in computer engineering and business. I had my computer engineering degree from Case Western and my MBA from Temple University out in Philadelphia. I also really focus on software development and technology for my career. So my day job, I'm the CEO of a B2B SaaS company, Ton Done. I also run a cybersecurity consulting firm, mainly for airports, called Cypress Lake, and I was the CIO for Hopkins Airport and Philadelphia Airport prior to that. So I have a lot of experience that I can share with you. Hopefully it's beneficial to you as you go through the course, and it's definitely going to be beneficial as we walk through the final project. Our final project is going to be a real-world risk analysis project that I've done multiple times in real life, so it's definitely worthwhile and definitely something that you're going to experience if you decide to go into cybersecurity. This course is predicated on some knowledge of networking and Linux administration. So we're going to be using Kali Linux and some hacking tools and enumeration and OSINT tools through Kali. So understanding the Linux command line is important, and also some basic understanding of networking. Now, chapter 2, I do a video on TCP/IP. I also linked to my other course that I teach, ITNT 2310, which is the TCP/IP course here at Tri-C. So if you need to catch up, I've provided some resources for you to do so, just so you have an idea, again, as we go through the other chapters, when we talk about subnets and CIDR, you just have a good background and understanding of what it is. Since I'm an adjunct at Tri-C, I don't hold office hours. I do have office hours blocked out normally when I teach at Notre Dame. So, there's times during the day and the night that if you need to meet with me, we can, but I don't have stated hours. So shoot me an email. We can set up a call if you need some help from me. This is a 3 credit hour course, so you can expect that at minimum you're spending 3 hours per week on the content. And like I said, you're ultimately responsible for getting that content completed. Now, if you find out that, hey, this class sucks, or I don't like this professor, I want to leave, drop date is 2/1, and withdrawal W is a 4/15 deadline. So just make sure you're taking note of that. The syllabi have changed a little bit. Most of the boilerplate, and I'll click on this link here, has been separated out into like a part B that is college wide. And this covers academic credit, accessibility, attendance tracking, all the basics about the course. And obviously, concealed carry doesn't matter because we're online. And the COVID-19 statement. I do want to take a note about attendance tracking. It's my responsibility to make sure that you're attending the course. I try to do my part to make sure there's no student aid fraud going on. So what I do is, just like in most of courses you've had, you need to quote unquote attend for the first 2 weeks. So essentially, you need to access Blackboard, complete one assignment each week at minimum. If you don't do that, I auto drop you from the course. Also, I monitor your participation and assignments in the course throughout the semester. So if you suddenly leave, just take a note that I may request that you are dropped from the course. So attendance is important. It's not a grade. Obviously, we're asynchronous, so it's whenever during the week you get an opportunity to read the text and do the assignments. But just note, if you're not turning in assignments, I do monitor that throughout the semester. So let's go back to the syllabus. Online delivery, the course outcomes are here. They're mapped to the Tri-C outcomes and the statewide outcomes for the course. Most important thing is this textbook is definitely required for this course. Save for the midterm and the final project, we use the textbook as a guide. The videos are there to be super helpful, but we perform the quizzes and the labs within Cengage and the virtual machines that they provide through some of their lab simulators. Here's a breakdown of the grading. I tried to make sure that your midterm or your final in and of itself aren't going to make or break your grade. If you notice, the highest percentages here are lab assignments, quizzes, and discussion boards. Now, the quizzes and discussion boards, you can retake them unlimited times. I also believe that with the labs, you can take them multiple times as well. So you're talking 64% of your grade. Is completely controllable by you, right? If you get a 8 out of 10 on a quiz, go retake it. I want you to succeed here. Repetition allows you to understand the content. I'm not here to penalize you because you have a question that you got wrong, right? And discussion boards are the same thing. I'm asking you twice a week to communicate with your peers in the class. Not really a hard topic, right? We're picking a cybersecurity news story or article each week. I believe it's Thursdays, you turn it in, and then on Saturdays you have 2 replies. Labs and quizzes are due on Sunday. The only real exceptions here are the midterm and the final. Oh, and I forgot, the pre and post assessments, as long as you do them, I automatically give you 100%, just so you know. So 11% of your grade is not dependent on your answers at all. I just want to know at the very beginning of the course where you're at, and at the end of the course where you're at, and see what kind of progress we've made. So the midterm and the final project are really the two that, if you think about, are the most critical in terms of you understanding the comprehensive content of the course. Spend the most time prepping for those. All right. Pardon me. So I've laid out the 17 weeks, or the 16 weeks of the course plus spring break, that you will be walking through all the main topics in ethical hacking. So we're going to start off in our first week with an overview, and then week 2 we're going to jump into TCP/IP review, because it's going to be super important to understand that for networking and enumeration and operating system studies. So week 2 is TCP/IP, and then we're just going to jump through chapter to chapter each week. They say about the cybersecurity industry, it is a mile wide and an inch deep, right? There are so many possible topics, and just our ability to dig deep only can go so far within a 17-week time frame. So we're going to cover the most important things, the most important topics that you need to know to get going, and then whatever you decide to do beyond your associates, or if you're doing a college plus, right? If you want to branch out beyond this, it's a great starting point, and we really cover a lot of good content that's going to allow you to start picking a specialty in the area. Late assignments. Bottom line, I don't accept late work. Now, there's always going to be exceptions, right? COVID, obviously, documented medical issue from a doctor, a medical doctor. Let me correct that. Don't go to an ED and ask for an excuse, right? So if you have a medical issue, death in the family, issues such as that. I'm not here to, not understand that things happen in life, but if it's not a valid excuse, the due date is a due date, right? A due date means the date things are due. And it's your ultimate responsibility. This is a college course. You're expected to make adult decisions to get things done. And I bring this up because it becomes a problem every semester, right? I had an issue. I just didn't get to it. I had work I had to do. And my typical response is, let's say you had to choose work over school. I applaud that decision. To be able to say, hey, this thing is more important than this other thing, to make that decision, that is awesome. I'm happy you're able to do it. But that doesn't mean in every decision we make there aren't consequences, right? If you had to work and you didn't get an assignment done, well, you get a 0 on the assignment. And that's fine. I'm not going to judge you because of your decision, right? We might have a busy family life or a busy work life, but we've all made the choice to be here in this class. So just missing a meeting at work or missing an event with a family member, if you miss an assignment, ultimately there are repercussions to doing so. And in this case, it's a 0 on an assignment, or maybe you didn't turn it in and do it well, and maybe it's a lesser grade. So just realize that I have the discretion as the professor for this course on a case-by-case basis to allow an exception. And it is ultimately my choice. Everything else you've probably seen. These are boilerplate. So every syllabus pretty much has it. Netiquette, obviously, be nice to everybody on the discussion boards. So that is the syllabus. Go back to the content here. We talked about the course text. Very important here are this is the way to access the course. So make sure you are following this guidance. Ethical considerations. Some of my certifications that I have my CISSP, my CCSP through ISC squared. It's the preeminent cybersecurity industry group. There are CISSP, you could, next to GIAC. It's the gold standard in the industry, right? If you're going to go into cybersecurity management, I highly suggest you become an associate of ISC squared, and that you ultimately shoot for your CISSP. But part of that comes with ethical standards and guidelines that you need to follow, and we will follow those guidelines in this course. We will especially follow those guidelines during our final project. Again, when we are performing work in the cybersecurity field, you need to make sure that what you're doing fits within your contract and scope of work authorized by the folks that you're working for, right? If you're working for a bank and they say don't access HR documents, you better not access those HR documents, right? So we're going to follow these codes of ethics in our course as well. Speaking of ethics, I also want to touch on plagiarism. It's something that comes up every single semester, so I will give you my stance on it. You are responsible for creating your own work and citing the work of others. It's a pretty simple concept. If I run into a issue of plagiarism, which I do in every class, and I always hope that I will have a semester in a class that I won't. The first incident, the minimum kind of consequence is you will receive a 0 on the assignment. You will be reported to the college. If it is especially grievous, you risk failing the course immediately. So I just wanted to let you know that I take plagiarism issues seriously, both intentional and unintentional. I realize the world is very gray, right? There's reasons why people may plagiarize. Many times it is unintentional, but it is still plagiarism, and it needs to be dealt with. So at least you know the minimum standards here. If I catch it, you at the minimum get a 0 and a letter in your student record. I get that we're all in a rush to do things, but it's really important that if you're going to include the work of others in your work, that you properly cite it. And it's pretty easy to catch, right? You teach a lot of classes. You start to learn how people write. Let me tell you the trick as a teacher. When I read your discussion boards every week, my brain associates the way you write with you. And then when I see something out of the ordinary, right, like we all maybe misspell a word a certain way. We use certain idiomatic expressions, different phrasing, grammatical errors. We all do it, right? I have words that I try to spell maintenance. I always spell it wrong, right? And then I find something out of the ordinary, right? Something is a different writing style, or in some of my coding courses, the code's an intermediate level instead of a beginner level. We don't just change our behaviors overnight. So just remember, if you're thinking about it and you're thinking about going off to Chegg or paying someone to write a paper for you, we notice. We all notice. All the teachers notice. And it's really disappointing when that happens, right? Personally, I'd rather do my own work and get a B than pay someone, take that risk, and we'll talk about risk in that course, accept that risk and get an A, knowing that I could fail. So that's my view on plagiarism. Take it for what it's worth. Let's go into... We talked about announcements every week or so. I will make sure I'm letting you know what's going on. Course content. I have a link to start here. And then each week I have laid out for you a very formulaic way of managing your time in the course. Every week I tell you what we're doing. I tell you what's due, when it's due. Like week 1, for instance, you have to do your initial post and your reply posts. You have your pre-assessment. You have a lab. This isn't by the way, the first week lab. It's nothing really difficult. It's just spinning up a virtual machine and logging in and clicking a couple buttons. Just getting you used to, getting you familiar with the virtual machine labs, and then a quiz on the initial content, right? But every week is structured the same. So from me, you get a weekly overview. You get the objectives we're trying to accomplish for the week. And then you get a discussion board. You get a link to Cengage, and then you have a video from me. I give a full lecture on the topic. Some are longer than others. This one's approximately 30 minutes. Now, I clicked on the Cengage link for week 1. Let me just log in real quick. So, because I'm using student mode. Um, Let me exit this. Yes, exit the preview. What's going on? So, when you hit that Cengage button, and my view is going to look a little different because I have uh, a gradebook as well. So this is the ebook version of Cengage. Okay, so that's what's linked. Now you'll want to go to the Cengage website. And I'll go to, you don't have to go through all these steps. Spring 2022. Okay, we're finally there. This is what you will see on the Cengage site. Now, I don't mind showing this right now because no one's taken any graded activities yet. So with each week, you will have certain items that you have to do that count for a grade. So Module 1, if we flip back here, you'll see this is Chapter 1, Module 1. You will have in this pre-assessment for week 1, virtual machine lab, and you have a quiz, right? So those are all due on Sunday night. And it's the same every week. You'll have a lab and a quiz, a lab and a quiz. All the pre-assessment's only week 1. So like Module 2 for week 2, you have a quiz, and then you have a lab. Now there's 1 or 2 weeks where there's 2 labs, just because the content is a little longer. So just make sure you take a note of that. But, in the end, the link that's in the content goes to the ebook, and you'll have to log into Cengage to access the modules that you'll be working on for that week. So aside from that, again, every week, structured pretty much the same way. So like week 2, I give you, hey, here's what's due, here's the discussion board, here's a link to the ebook, and then here's a video. And week 2 is a little different. I give you some optional videos. If I have other courses I've taught that I think you might have a lecture that might help you understand some content, I put it in here. So, just be aware, I try to keep things super consistent. So if you go back to course content, the course content that is going to be unfilled yet are midterms, put a nice little coming soon, and your final project, which is coming soon. So we'll get to those when we get closer to those weeks. And the final project is typically a group project, but again, it depends on how many people are in the course. So, we will assess that when we get closer to week 16, what that final project will look like. It will be a risk management project, probably NIST cybersecurity framework analysis of some situation. Where you're going to create a scorecard and then give a summary write-up, executive summary write-up of the situation and recommendations for remediation, a risk matrix, things like that. But we'll learn all of that in the course. So that's about it. The one item I wanted to bring up was I do like to bring up the difference between lecturing and being a lecturer and a professor versus being a tutor. This is an asynchronous course. It is expected of you when you use an online course like this, and I know with the pandemic we kind of all shifted online for a while, but we'll think pre-pandemic, online requires a different set of thinking. It's the concept of andragogy versus pedagogy. Of um, our teaching styles are different, our approaches are different for both the lecturer and for the student. Right? You need to be self-directed, self-starting. You need to follow dates, keep a calendar, and also we don't have one-on-one interaction. So it's super important that we recognize early if you're struggling in the course and provide you the support you need. If you're sending me an email every day saying, hey, I don't understand this topic or this content, and it is becoming a act of repetition, that's when we should talk about getting you a tutor. I am, as a lecturer or professor, your guide, right? Like, we have a set of objectives. I provide you the content, I provide you lectures, I provide you general guidance, and the journey is up to you, right? And recognizing where you're struggling and spending more time in certain areas versus others, this is your opportunity here to self-recognize those issues. So if we run into a situation where you may need more assistance, I may talk to you about that, but don't get concerned, right? Because just like a professor is one tool in your toolbox, a tutor is another tool in your toolbox as well for you to reach your academic goals. Right? There's no shame in asking for help. I ask for help all the time in my life. So I just wanted to bring up the difference that I'm here to help, but I'm also here to guide you to the right resources to fill your needs for the course. So I think that's it. Covered all the content. It's great to, I guess, meet you. I'm talking to my laptop right now, so I know that you'll be watching this later on. Maybe at some point we'll have a virtual office hour and say hello. Again, I'll provide some announcements throughout the semester. Especially as we get towards the project, I'll hold a Zoom meeting for the project, because part of it is, and how I like to do the project for this class is treat it like a real business project where you will be potentially interviewing me as an end user, maybe some of my coworkers. I try to create a really fun interactive project. So we'll definitely meet each other, but it'll probably be later in the semester over Zoom or WebEx. So good luck with your first week. I'm here to provide support, and I will talk to you all soon.